And while we were talking there, I could see movement on the outside of the window, and I could hear people calling my name, you know, David, David John Cal. And so I got curious. I started looking out, and I stood up, and my ancestor held on to me and says, "No, you don't want to go. You don't want to go out there."
Hello, family. Welcome to my channel. I'm your host, Haji, and this is Amazing NDE Stories. Our guest today is David. David, welcome to the show.
Aloha.
Feel aloha, aloha, aloha. David's coming from Hawaii, the place I wish I could be right now. Um, and so just jump straight into well, if you feel like you want to introduce yourself, say whatever you like people to know about you, and then jump straight into your story, and then we'll have Q&A.
Okay. My name is David Wallace, and I was born and raised on the island of Molokai, which is considered one of the more spiritual islands in the Hawaiian chain. In fact, anciently, our ancestors on Molokai really didn't need a standing army to protect themselves because they could protect themselves using their psychic abilities. Okay. In fact, there's several stories about them defeating the warriors that were coming over in canoes before they even set their foot on the island. They're done. Okay, so that's where I come from, the island of Molokai. And the near-death experiences I wrote about in my book, The Journey of Our Souls, which is available on Amazon. And I actually had 4 near-death experiences. So as you as a host, you get to choose which one you want me to start with. Pick a number between 1 and 4.
This is a first. This is a first for me. I know the ones that kept me up at night thinking about them. So I don't know what number they are. I'd like you to
Okay.
say them all because I like to get all the information out there. So I mean, if you wanted to start from the first, but definitely want to talk about the one with your best friend, and then
Oh, okay.
wait, first and foremost, the one as a child. That one I have tons of questions. So start with that one.
Sure. So
Okay.
that's my first near-death experience, and the one with my friend is the third near-death experience. Okay, so when I was 5 years old, got into an accident. My brother pushed me out of the car, and I landed on the back of my head and on the road. And while I was lying there on the road, I found myself floating above my body. In fact, I didn't feel any pain whatsoever. So I found myself floating above and looking down and seeing myself on the road bleeding. And I didn't know who this child was. I could see my brother and my aunt who was driving the car. They came running out and they're gathering around me, and other people that were following us on a car. They jumped out to help on a situation. And I remember once I realized that was me on the ground, I got really scared. And as I looked around, I also saw some shadows that to me were pretty scary. And so I was scared, I was frightened. And right when I was just about ready to panic, um, someone reached from behind me and pulled me close in, just like giving me a hug. And when I turned and looked, and there was this huge Hawaiian man, and I would call him an ancestor of mine. And later it showed that he was an ancestor of mine. But this ancestor of mine held me in close and was really soothing. And so he took me and we flew up into the air. And I remember speeding through the air really quickly and going through, zigzagging through the sky until we reached this kind of dark place, but it seemed like it was a flat plateau or some kind of mountain, high up somewhere. But there was a crack in the mountain and a hole in the mountain, and there was light coming out, shining out. And that's where we headed, and we went down the shaft. And when we reached the bottom of the shaft, there was a small room. And this room would be just enough to fit about maybe 4 or 5 adults comfortably. And there was me and this big Hawaiian man. And as I looked around the door, as I looked at the room, there were multiple doors. There were doors with windows on top, and I could see outside. And while we were talking there, I could see movement on the outside of the window, and I could hear people calling my name, David John Cow. And so I got curious. I started looking out, and I stood up, and my ancestor held on to me and says, "No, you don't want to go there. You don't want to go out there." And when he did that to me, the people or the figures that were outside pressed up against the windows so that I could see their faces clearly. And as I looked at their faces, they looked familiar. To me, they looked like family members. And they were holding food, they were holding drinks. It's like, come, come eat, come have something to drink and eat with us. And so I was really hungry. All of a sudden I got really hungry. And so I tried to break away from my ancestor and open the door, but he tackled me and grabbed me and he held me. He says, don't eat anything, don't drink anything, don't go there. They're not your friends. They are not who they appear to be. And finally, when I decided, okay, I'm going to listen to my ancestor, and I'm hungry and I'm thirsty, but I want to, tough things out. As soon as I made that decision, all of the faces that were nice and friendly to me, they turned demonic. And they were angry. Now they were pounding on the windows. Get out here, pounding, and it made me really scared. And so my ancestor tried to talk to me about other things to take my mind off of this, clamoring that was going outside. And there was a point where I think the powers that be had enough, because all of a sudden the room on the inside just lit up, and there's a powerful presence in there. It wasn't a spirit, but there's just a light that came down and lit up the room, and it went outside into the darkness. And as soon as the light hit the darkness, you could see the people backing up away from the door. And as the light went out into the darkness, this was a vast, vast cavern filled with all of these shadows of people. And, I would say there were millions of them. Just a huge crowd that surrounded this room. And they all wanted me to join them. And so I was grateful for my ancestor to keep me safe. And I asked him, what was this place? And he told me it was a safe place where I could. I was scared, and he was there to calm me and keep me safe at the same time. So that was my first near-death experience. So it seemed like I was there for several hours. But in reality, in real Earth time, I was probably gone about less than 5 minutes.
Mm.
So all of that time, one of the things I learned about the NDEs is that once you're in that, time is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how did you get back to your body?
Well, when I got the way I got back into my body, I got really tired, and I fell asleep. I fell asleep and I leaned on my ancestor and I fell asleep. And when I fell asleep, I felt myself like I was falling.
Mm,
I was falling out of bed, and
mm,
I woke up and I was still in a gurney being rolled into the hospital. That's when I
mm.
woke up.
Oh wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. So I have so many questions. So many questions.
Okay.
Okay, all right. I gotta figure out where to start because like it's fun that you have multiple NDEs. Well, not fun for you, but fun for this process is fun, but it makes it so much more difficult to get this together. So I love that you brought up the is it Milwaukee Island? The
Kai.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Molokai.
Molokai.
Yeah,
Okay.
Molokai. Very good.
Yeah, I'm learning like three languages right now, so I'll add Hawaiian to it. So I love the idea that they are psychic warriors. Like that could be a whole nother show in itself that you can do, on your website or something, but just
Yeah.
it's so important that because first of all, we're living in a world where people have closed off the third eye. It's completely materialistic. Like all that stuff is in the past or with indigenous people, and it's like it's not real. You stop talking that woo-woo stuff. That's the world we're living in. That is completely shut off from spirit. And so thankfully, we're getting out of that. You see that is going in ways where people are waking up to who we are and what's really happening around us. But I actually saw an NDE yesterday with an African American male, and he had his experience, and he mentioned that he felt like the people in the hospital were trying to kill him, and that he, as a spirit, called them into his hospital room and said, "I have power, my spiritual power. I will haunt you. Like you better do me right. So people don't understand like there is something to that spiritual
Yeah.
power. You don't have to have the might, the physical might. You got this, like you pointed to your third eye, you got that, and then you can take down whole armies. And the fact that these people did that, because we know the story of colonialism, we're seeing where that leads to now in today's world, right, with this war in the Middle East.
Yes.
But for indigenous people to not have succumbed to that evil, to have used their innate powers to tackle that down or even prevent it. Another story, I'm getting goosebumps. Another story I just happened to see in passing, and that reminds me of that, and it's just beautiful, is the Tibetan monks. Like they are awesome, right? And I, I'm not fully telling the story because I don't know, can't remember all the details, but apparently Hitler and the Nazis had tried to go. They heard about Shambhala and all these different powers that these monks had, so they were trying to go and infiltrate. And the monks actually welcomed them at first, told them all their secrets because they know how powerful they are, told them all their secrets. Yeah, eat bread, sit down, have a little nap here, this and that. They went back, told Hitler all this stuff, and then I guess they were trying to win the war, so they went back to try to take over these people. They didn't even make it past like the first mountain. They just disappeared. They said that they never heard of that group again. Gone.
So hold
Spiritual
on.
power is real.
Yeah. Actually, there's a book that was written about a family that grew up on the island of Molokai that continued to practice the traditions of old days. The story is called Tales of the Night Rainbow. Tales of the Night
Bells.
Rainbow. Yeah, it's out of print right now. In
Oh.
fact, if you can get a copy somewhere,
Hmm.
it will be a really good read. But in there, there's stories of little children doing fantastic things.
Wow.
In fact, a game that they used to play was what remote viewers called. If you ever watched the movie Men Who Stare at Goats,
Okay.
uh,
Okay.
that's a remote viewing story. One of the characters is a remote viewer, and he practices this thing called cloud bursting. And he
Okay.
picks a cloud up in the sky and he focuses on it and makes the cloud disappear. Well, that's fine and dandy for the kids on Molokai. not only could they make the cloud disappear, but they could cut it up into pieces, make their own shape.
Change the color, switch it up.
The weather, if it's raining outside and they want to do outside and don't want to get wet, they come outside and say, "Stop rain," and the rain ends. They want the wind to change direction. They go outside and say, just by the thought of their mind.
Yes.
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 And several years ago, I had that same experience where New Year's Day, we here in Hawaii, our neighbors like to pop fireworks. So they were blowing up this huge strand of firecrackers, and with that comes smoke, right?
Yes.
And so they were blowing up their string of firecrackers, and the smoke was heading towards our house. And my wife and I were standing outside in our driveway, and I turned around and it says, "We forgot to close the windows." So my wife said, "Okay, let's go run in and shut the windows." And I go, "No, there's the easier solution." So what is it? "I'm going to ask the wind to blow the smoke to our neighbor's house."
The ones who were pushing the fireworks.
Blown back, blown back to them. So I'm over there, and I address my ancestors, ask them for help, and I address the winds of our neighborhood. It says to cooperate with me. We don't want smoke in our house. We don't want to spend the next couple of days washing all of our clothes and linen and things. So could you help by just changing the direction? It was blowing right into our house. Could you please change your direction and move the smoke? And the wind blowing this way, all of a sudden it died, and the smoke was crossing over the road. And right when the wind died, the smoke stopped in the middle of the street.
Wow.
And the wind came and blew it past us. So for my ancestors and my people in Molokai and stuff, that was child's play. They could do that.
Yeah. Can you imagine if they could do that with wars now? Like whatever they're sending, our way, it goes right back to them.
Yeah.
That'll stop a war real quick.
Well, that's why in planning, a lot of people who are trying to plan cultural events, and they know about me, they ask me, "Dave, can you look into this time period that we want to do this? So will it be okay for the weather and things like that?" So I project myself into the future to take a look and ask nature, what are you guys going to be doing? Can you folks cooperate? And when I get the clear signal, I says, "Yeah, that's fine."
Wow. And I mean, and this is not, this is, like you said, it's not news, like there's people even now who are telling, because I've done other interviews, and if people have seen the previous ones, they know that everything you're saying has been like, it's a check mark, like yes, 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 where they're saying that we have the power for telekinesis, we have the power for telepathy, we have the power for changing the weather, we have all of these powers within us that have been tamped down by other, other powers, and once people understand this, especially the children, because remember, I think the biggest thing for this is that the belief, you have to believe. And with adults, we get stuck in our ways in this materialistic world and we forget. Children still have that imagination, they still have that belief and that faith and that purity and that closeness to, the other side. So if we could start teaching our children these things, the world will look completely different, and I think much better.
Yeah, I have two grandbabies. My daughters, two girls that they're very powerful. They're very prophetic. They can see things coming down the road. So I encourage them to use their abilities as often as they can, because it's helpful.
Yes, yes, and it's good to have a granddaddy who knows how to manage that, because a lot of people, even within my family, because I mean I was very psychic as a child, but there are
Sure.
those that are growing up right now in my family that have those abilities. Like my sisters will come to me like, okay, this one is doing this and that and that, and they just literally pray on it and say, get rid of it. We don't want it, because they don't know what to do with it. So we literally, people like literally get rid of it. And I'm sure I'm speaking to someone who's listening now who had that same experience where they either don't understand it, don't know how to deal with it, so they tamp it down, or think it's demonic or evil or whatever, and then they tamp it down for that reason, right?
Yeah.
But yes, I don't want to go off on a tangent. So like for this
Yeah.
this NDE, and I'm going to make it separate videos. This is what's going to have to happen for each NDE is going to be a separate video. So I'll ask all the
Yeah.
questions right after. Okay.
Okay.
So this one bothered me because I am very protective of like people in general. I just who I am. I'm like a pit bull, but I am even more protective of children. And so I was so concerned for baby you. I was so concerned. I was like, where is his protect? I mean, and granted, you had the ancestor, and I wasn't sure who that being was before. I didn't know if it was like an elemental or like a Hawaiian god or something like that. But you're saying it was an ancestor, right?
It's
This
an
guy.
ancestor. Hawaiians call our protecting spirits Aumakua.
Almacoa.
Yeah, Aumakua. They're family protectors, and they're real ancestors who have taken the responsibility of helping us when we need.
So would that
So
be the equivalent of a guide or a spirit guide that people
no,
experience? No? Oh, no.
no,
Okay.
no, no. They're very different. They're very
Okay,
different.
okay. Okay.
Because your spirit guide and things like that. For me, a lot of times the spirit guides are kind of like a guide will help you maneuver through things and
Hmm.
stuff. But many of
Oh,
them will not participate in your life,
you're right. Or protect you, or
because
protect you.
yeah, um, Almakua is different. They're active participants in your life.
Wow. Okay.
because because inside of me I carry their DNA. So their hopes, their dreams, and everything and stuff is embodied in me. And my existence today and stuff ensures their immortality.
Nice.
So they want to
Wow.
make sure that I'm taken care of, and I'm doing well and trying to maximize my abilities and my gifts to do as much as I can in the time period that I have. So that's their job.
Oh, okay, okay. So that brings to mind another question is
Yes.
do you believe in reincarnation at all? Does that idea resonate with you?
Reincarnation, I have another for Hawaiian cultural practitioners, the answer would be no.
Okay.
Okay. Because we see the bones. Our bones is the house of our spirits. So when we die, the bones need to be taken care of, because that's where our spirit rests.
Mm-hmm.
However, many people who experience ideas or visions about some past life,
Mm-hmm.
what I feel is that they're recalling ancestral memories
Mm-hmm.
that's passed on from generation to generation, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I sit down and I focus on, okay, Tutu Man, great 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 grandfather, okay,
Mm-hmm.
show me your life. And I sit down, and I'm a historian, so I know the time period that
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at, and I recognize clothes and the spoken word that's coming out of their mouths. So I could project myself within the environment. So
Mm-hmm.
and their life story flashes by, so I can see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Ancestral memories also come when I start working on crafts that my ancestors did, like when I'm shaping stones, making
Okay.
uh making stone bowls,
Mm-hmm.
um that's not something from my generation, but from several generations ago. So when I'm touching and handling the stone and shaping it, and I close my eyes, says, okay, how do you do this? Boom. I have a vision of one of my ancestors shaping the stone, giving me the picture and how it should look like and how to tap and how to create this. So
Wow.
that's what
Wow.
so these are ancestral memories. That's not, yeah. My wife just gave me this.
Oh, tell her I said hi and thank you.
Yeah.
And
Now
I
this
know
is
that type of stone. That's coming from the volcanic. Is it the,
yeah, but
yeah.
this is a game piece that we use. It's shaped like a disc and stuff, and we roll it,
Mm-hmm.
and we call it a mica stone,
Okay.
mica stone. And
Micah.
this was a very popular game played by the commoners all the way up to the chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And you roll it across the field and try and get it between two stakes. It's almost like Hawaiian bowling.
Yeah. Well, I used to play petanque and
Uh-huh.
bocce. So, that kind of game. So I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
love
yeah.
that.
Very
I
similar.
would
Yeah,
love that.
yeah. So
Nice. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so while I'm shaping these and stuff, I close my eyes and until I know what I'm doing, the
Mm-hmm.
ancestors will guide me and give me
Yeah.
a vision of what I should be doing, how to move my hands, how to pick the stones until I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Now, is that something that you have because you're intuitive and sensitive, or do you think this is something that anybody could tap into? Any Hawaiian could maybe tap. Well, anyone can tap into. Like, what do you think?
Anybody can tap into it as long as they're willing to listen
Hmm.
and reach out to the ancestors and realize that the ancestors can help. Just because they're dead doesn't mean they're gone.
Yes, yes, yes. And that's going to bring up, I hope I don't forget this question, but that brings up a whole nother topic that I have that your situation brought
Sure.
up. Okay, but let's still, because I'm telling you, we could probably, clearly we could talk for hours, but let me try to get back to the first one. So, um,
Okay.
so when you said that your ancestor was big, was he big because you're a child and he was like a bigger human, or do you think he was like a giant type size?
I think for for me, I think spirits they can when they manifest themselves, they can appear any size that they want.
Mhm.
And I think this particular spirit in real life, I know who this person is. And
Wow.
I know who this person is. And he wasn't a big person, he wasn't a tall person.
Mhm.
He was lucky if he was about 5'9", 5'10". Okay. But when he appeared in spirit, he appeared as a huge spirit. And that's more like reflective of his mana, his power,
Power, yeah.
you know, and so large. And since it was the first time appearing to me, and you know, he wanted to
Impressed.
impress me, I guess. Yeah,
Hey, I'm here to
better
help.
than better than showing up as a meniune, yeah.
Yeah, you were like, wait a minute, how are you gonna help me? That's great though. That's
Yeah,
great. But
yeah.
so did you know him at the time that you had this experience? Did you know of this particular ancestor, or did you find out after the experience?
I knew who he was because he was in my dreams from the time I was small.
Wow.
Yeah, he used to
Wow, wow,
come in.
wow.
He used to come and talk story with me, and
Oh,
I would see him and see him in my dreams. When I have nightmares, he'd come and teach me how to deal with my nightmares.
hmm,
Yeah.
yes.
Uh, my childhood was very traumatic, so
Oh,
I had a lot of nightmares, and
yeah.
so when the nightmares came and stuff, he would be one of several ancestors that would come and kind of like calm me down, say everything's okay, and
Yeah.
or they'll teach me how to do different things within the dream world to combat against any harm that may be heading to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah,
I really do pray that any child that's going through traumatic situations, and I've heard some crazy stories, I just pray that they have that ancestor or that
yeah.
angel or that guide or somebody to protect them. I really do. Yeah. So, but I'm glad that he was there. He was there looking out.
Yeah.
Do you think he was looking out for your, I know you have a brother, it sounds like you have a brother. Was he looking out for your other siblings, or was he kind of like like you were his kind of his, you know,
I think I have a better personal relationship with them than, because I talk to my siblings about them, and,
Mhm. I know. Okay.
they never encountered him. And, uh, this particular one, is kind of different, from the rest of the family, protectors, because he was a kahuna nui.
Was it chief
And
or?
a kahuna nui is like, the equivalent would be the Pope for the Catholic Church. You know.
Whoa. Okay.
So,
Okay. Wow.
so the kahuna nui was the expert in Hawaiian religion, and he served not only served the highest ranking, um, chief that's alive during that time, and
Mhm.
he officiated at the most important ceremonies, and he was seen as a mouthpiece of the gods, yeah, because he knew all of the prayers and ceremonies. So, that's what his expertise was. So he was very connected to the spirit world.
Do you feel like he chose you because he saw your future? Like, I mean, you're kind of working in that same arena, or no? Or am I wrong? Am I
Well,
right?
a few years ago, this kupuna or ancestor of mine asked me to step into his shows.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, you're his apprentice, you're his protege. He says, I want that one.
Well, and every time I work with native shaman, and, like this group that came in, I hadn't seen them in about 3 years. And, so when they finally came back and they saw what I'm able to do now, they
Mm.
go, "Oh, Dave, you're spooky."
Okay. But yeah, so I was getting that feeling. I'm like, wait a minute, he was you're his apprentice. He's kind of building you up. He saw your future in this, maybe. So okay. So the other question, so I don't want to assume anything. So your religious background was it the indigenous background at that time when you had this NDE?
Actually, I was baptized and raised in the Mormon church.
I'm glad I didn't assume. Wow. Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, in fact, this ancestor that, is my personal, uh, guide through this whole thing,
Mhm.
um, he was um, he was a Kahuna Nui that actually, destroyed the Hawaiian religion, the Hawaiian religious structure. He was the man behind it.
Wait. Wait. Oh God, see, this is a problem. I have a million questions. Like I just want to know everything, and this is going to be way too long. But what do you mean? Like okay, so I'm so confused right now. He destroyed the Hawaiian
Yeah,
like so what is
yeah.
isn't he following that, or he's created his own? Like what does that
Okay.
mean?
Okay. The time period that we're talking about is 1819, 1820. In 1819, Kamehameha the Great, which is the last, ruling, monarch. He's the first and the last in his dynasty actually to follow the old Hawaiian ways. And my ancestor was a young man when he became the Kahuna Nui for this, chief Kamehameha.
Mhm.
So, as long as Kamehameha was alive, all of the old, ways, kapu system was, uh, was being enforced. When Kamehameha the Great passed away, he kind of like got manipulated in a way by his one of his wife, Kahu Manu. And Kahu Manu wanted to get rid of the old ways because it made women second-class citizens.
Okay.
Women could not yield the kind of power that men could
Mm.
because of the old system. So she wanted it wiped out.
Mm.
And so when Kamehameha the Great passed away, she approached my ancestor and convinced my ancestor, for the good of Hawaii, we need to modernize, step up into the modern Western world. And in order to do that, we need to get rid of the old kapu system. And one of the major rules that separated men from women is what Hawaiians call the ai kapu, and this is the sacred eating. For men, eating was a sacred act because men fed the gods whenever they ate. Okay, and the preparation of food, because women and their menstrual cycle, they're considered
Unclean.
corrupt and unclean. They couldn't handle food, so the men did all of the cooking, and during the meals, you had men and women eating in separate places.
Wow.
Okay, so with the ai kapu broken, now men and women could get together and on equal ground.
Mm.
So Kahumanu convinced my ancestor to do that. And so he went and followed the command of the new ali'i, the new chief, which is his job, actually. If the ali'i wants something changed, that's their prerogative. He don't tell them. It's the opposite way. You tell me what you want to do. And so Kaumanu wanted the religion wiped out, and says, oh, okay, I'm your servant, and so I'll do what needs to be done.
Wow. Wow.
Irony, huh?
Yes, yes. And I wonder, because I mean, because the spirit goes on and he's clearly very much alive still, just not
Yes.
physically. I wonder if he has stepped into, like, maybe feeling just a certain way about that, like feeling like he wants to bring it back. Because it sounds, in your opinion, do you think that, he clearly was doing his job, he followed orders, but do you think that he is still tied to the old ways? Like, where do you, I don't know how to
See,
ask this
there's
question.
there's a difference between the structured religion, and the structured religion was mainly for to keep the ali'i in power. Okay, so the really high ranking or types of heiau, where the sacred rites and the worship of Ku and the god of war and snatching lands, and that is all has everything to do with the ali'i, the rulers. They were warriors. It was a warrior society. So to prove your mana and to prove your worth, you prove it on a battlefield. Okay, so it was constant warfare. That was it. That's the way they displayed their power. And so that religious part supported that.
Yes.
But there's a second part of Hawaiian worship or spirituality, where the ancestors play a more important role than the major gods. And that's caring for and and taking care of the ancestral spirits. That he didn't take away.
Very good. Okay. And it sounds like, I mean, the more you learn about the world and, you travel the world, you start to understand we all are so similar in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. I mean, you just described the whole world right there. Like so many people started off with this whole warring, conquering, and as you can see, it's still happening, but warring, conquering, like that's everything. And that, they'll take the religion and use the religion to their benefit to support all of those actions. And then you have like the real spirituality, like the real, that
Yeah.
ends up being about love and protection and
Yeah.
growth so yes, lovely. All right, so so okay, so in the story, uh when you mentioned this hexagonal space, because you had, I think in
Yes.
one thing you said it was a hexagon, it reminded me, I mean, you would know better, but in my mind, I saw like in Alice in Wonderland when she went down that tunnel and then, she fell down the tunnel and then she went into that room that had the doors on the side and the table
Kinda.
and
Yeah.
stuff. It reminded me of that for some reason. So in my mind, that's what I mentally saw. But were you in your astral body? Like if you looked at yourself, do you think that you were uh, like see through, but you still kind of looked like yourself, like your body at the time, or were you like a light orb, or did you not look at yourself at all?
Actually, when I looked at myself and my ancestor, we look like regular people.
Wow. Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just like looking at another person. And
Okay.
I we weren't transparent or ghostly appearance.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
the other creatures on the outside, however, outside of the room, were more shadows. And for Hawaiian perspective, this this realm that I saw with millions of shapeless forms roaming around, acting as shadows.
Mm.
The Hawaiians call this place Milu, Milo, Milu. Yeah,
Milu.
it's a place, Milu, and it's a place where the restless spirits who don't make it to the next world, will go, and it's kind of like a no man's land,
Mm.
and so they're stuck there.
And this comes up so many times. Like when you said the restless spirits, that reminds
Yeah,
me of the hungry. I don't know if it's in Buddhist.
yeah,
Yes, the hungry spirits or the hungry
yeah.
ghosts. Is that what they call it?
Japanese, yeah, Japanese culture, yeah.
Yes, yes. So it's amazing. Like I'm saying, all the similarities. So I mean, this space might actually, well, most likely does exist. A lot of people have experienced this, and then the question is like, because nobody wants to be that shadow. So why are these
No.
why are these people becoming these shadows? Is it because they're not getting rid of their earthly desires, or they're not moving into the light?
Actually, some of these creatures, um, they are not aware that they're dead.
Mm,
And another thing too, that from trying to explain it from a Hawaiian perspective, um, for some of them, uh, they broke the contact with their ancestors,
mm.
because it's the ancestors that will take you, that will guide you to the land of the ancestors. So without the ancestors there to guide you, you're lost. You don't know where to go. You end up roaming, trying to
Oh
find the
wow.
right path. So if you're not close to your ancestors, or you haven't developed this relationship with your ancestors, then they'll leave you alone. So you don't want our help, that's fine. Go find your own.
No, I mean that thought is probably a bit terrifying for groups like, I'm African American and like part of our history is that we were separated, to a lot of extent from our ancestral ways and from, the ancestors. And then you have people, of course, who are like maybe adopted and have no idea who their people are. I know people like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For people who say that to me, I says, don't worry. You may not know who your ancestors are, but your ancestors know you.
Mhm.
They're already in you.
Yes, Yes.
So all you need to do is dig deep inside and start asking. Okay, ancestors, I know you're unknown to me. I don't have a name. I don't even have a face. Can you show me who you are so that we can develop this relationship that I want? I want to get close to you. I want to know what your hopes and dreams are. And so that I can help in realizing your dreams too.
Mm, yeah. And
Does that make sense?
yes, 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 completely. And that well, the question I had about ancestors before that was the ones who were at the door, like at the windows. You said they looked familiar. Uh, did did any of them? Because I'm trying. Okay, this is where I got a concern. Like I said, if a child did actually not have this ancestor protecting them, or if they did end up in that room and then go out somehow get out to get drinks and food or whatever, what happens to them? Like I was so concerned for the version of you that went out and got that food and that drink. Like, what do you think happens in that situation? Like, would you not have returned to your body and been in that space?
That's a trap. That's a trap. Once you partake of things in that realm, it keeps you there.
Mm.
That's like that's just like it's a trap basically.
Yeah, and I've
Okay,
heard that before. I've
it's
definitely heard where you
bait.
can't
Yeah,
eat.
yeah,
Yes. Okay,
yeah.
and do you think that they were taking on the actual facade of ancestors that you had, or they were just trying to look familiar to you? Oh, and actually, this is what they people call it, familiars. Like when these demons try to look like, oh
Yeah,
wow, I
yeah,
just realized that as I'm saying it, that they're familiars.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Wow.
they know what's going on in your mind, and they'll play
Hmm.
on the thoughts that you have. And so, one of the things that I learned through conversing with my ancestors and years with them is when I approach a unknown spirit, to be as reserved with information as possible. Don't let them get inside me. Don't let them get in my memories because they'll play on that.
So wait, even in your head, like you literally have to control and focus your thoughts?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh my God. I get concerned because it's just so many people who don't know anything about this stuff, and I keep hearing the same things. Like it's besides even the spirits, like there are other dimensional, like we believe in other dimensions, other dimensional beings, if they're in higher dimensions that can see your thoughts very clearly, can see our thoughts very
Yeah.
clearly. And
Uh,
even see our past, present, and future. Like it's all there for them to see. And so that's why it's so easy for these familiars and these demons to play on, you know, us,
yeah,
unless you have protection.
yeah. Well,
Wow.
you don't want a person like me touching you or shaking your hand or sitting next to you at a party because if I get curious about who you are and what's going on and stuff, your whole life story will flash before me. And I'll
Yes,
be
they said
sitting
they
back watching a movie, eating popcorn.
but yeah, I mean, that's what people say, that it's because of I mean, again, I don't know that your traditional beliefs coincide with, some of the things that I'm going to be mentioning, but like the Akashic records and how everything that we do and say, etc., is kind of recorded, and that if you have the power to see into that, then you can see somebody's book of life very easily, and
Yeah.
past, present, and future possibilities. So, all right, so so the light that showed up, like that was news to me. Like I don't know that I saw that in other interviews. Do you feel like that light was associated with the same ancestor, or was something else, powerful light that pushed them?
Something different.
Wow.
Because the light, when it filled up the room, I felt overwhelming love. So I took it as the light of God and the love of God because apparently he may have been watching and was saying, enough of this.
Oh wow, 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 wow. Oh my
Enough
God.
of this, boom, and push this guy's away. Just said, leave this boy alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. And okay, so hopefully people are open-minded enough to hear this. 'Cause you have people who are very Jewish, very Christian, very Islamic, who don't want to hear anything about ancestral anything. Like they just don't. So I hope that they were open enough to hear this story and then to hear that even with all that, because it's like there's different levels, is what I understand and what I believe. That there's different levels that we have our ancestors, like you said, who are there to protect us, to look out for family, both here in the physical and beyond, and then you have angels and you have guides, you have all this great stuff, but there's God. So that actually goes back to a question that I had because I don't know much about, beyond what you're telling me now about Hawaiian ancestral religion. You're saying that that light was God. It sounds very similar to millions of other stories of people saying that light, God is light and love. Um, is that a belief that you had that is shared in the Hawaiian tradition, or is
I
what
don't
you're
know
saying?
where it comes from. You know, it could come from my, Christian background. The best way I can explain it is it just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so
it
is
just
it a
happened.
guess that it's God, or was it a knowing, like a feeling?
It was annoying that there was a higher being watching over me that loved me
Mm.
and was reaching out to protect me. And you know, being a being symbolic and stuff, I associated this bright, loving light with God's energy.
Mm.
God didn't have to show up himself; he just sent his love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. A little piece, a little tiny piece. Here you
Just like
go.
me, just like me saying aloha. I
Oh,
send
wow.
I send my aloha to you. Yeah.